This is going to be one exciting panel. Thank you, thank you.
Sorry.
Here are the protagonists,
Grab that shoe.
the people that really are making a change.
Lost it now.
They're making the change happen. I'm just an ambassador, just looking good and making them look good.
Break
So
a leg.
fantastic to have these four people. So how are we going to convince this crowd about how difficult and how easy it is to create meaningful, driven, impactful companies? Looks like it can be done. I'm surrounded by B Corps, by the way. Most of the people here are B Corps, so that's a great, great thing to have. So without further ado, I'll ask Sasha. So you've been at it for a while. It's not as if Glove has been successful today. There's a whole trajectory. People here would love to know, what was a moment or a number of moments that says, that's not the direction, that's a direction of my company, and that really made the difference possible? Can you identify a moment, or are there different moments?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. First of all, thanks for the invitation. I feel I've gate crashed the party. I'm the only non-B Corp sitting down here.
Not
So
yet.
I've got lots to learn from you guys. Yeah, we're starting the process. There isn't a B Corp gig economy company yet. I know they're doing the requirements, and we want to be part of that. So we're definitely, it's going to be a game changer for us. To answer your question, I think probably maybe 2.5 years into building Global, we sat down with Oscar and we said, you know, this is really getting big, and you know, projections where it's going to get very big very soon, double, triple. And then from what we built, we didn't really consider the impact in what we were building, and we got to the conclusion that the stuff that we need, any decision we made, any tech change, anything we did was have an impact in thousands of people. And I'll give you three highlights which are really core in our business. I think that's important. They're not just add-ons. One obviously is the couriers. You know, when we built Global, we thought, well, it'd be a great way for them to have a little bit of extra income, you know, be a nice add-on to what their daily lives. And the reality is, although that's part of some of the couriers, many of them they're really dependent on the income. Many of them it's their only source of income. And from then, you really have to have a lot more responsibility, I think, and you really have to start thinking about guarantees, and that this person can't 1 week have a certain amount of income in the next. So we changed the way we started measuring the economic impact to have decent earnings per hour. We started valuing that in every single country, every single city where we operated. So I have to make sure that and also guarantee them a certain amount of hours. So if they had a certain amount of hours 1 week, they could have the same. That's just one simple example, really core. Another one is packaging. Packaging, I think it's fair to say, companies like Glovo are not having a positive impact on single-use packaging. I think it's fair to say we have a very negative. The more we grow, the more. And we have a responsibility then to make our partners, and at the end of the day, it's the stores and restaurants who actually use that packaging to actually think about how they're damaging the planet and how we can do. And it's difficult because they've got their own KPIs, they've got their own numbers. So we've started doing that. We've built our own sustainable packaging store where we try and incentivize them. We subsidize it. And we'll still be doing more and more things. I mean, we want to demonstrate to them that customers really, it does matter, so they'll order more, so it's good business. And that's the best way of doing that. And then finally, with our partners, which are stores or restaurants, there's 90% of them are SMEs, small. And retail SMEs are probably the last group to join this digital economy that we've all been part of for a long time. And to a certain extent, we're helping them. And we've got a responsibility there to help them compete against much larger corporations who have technology and who are growing much quicker. And I think those are the three areas that we really focused on. And I think more or less 2.5 years in the company, we just sat down and we started changing a few things in the company.
And congratulations for your growth, amazing. So I'm hearing measuring and KPIs, really saying what's important in this company, this is what we measure, and this is really highlighted. Thank you very much, Sasha. Mark, you elevate farming. Look at that. Can you see behind Mark? You can see what he does. Farming literally on many levels. So how did you decide to become a purpose-driving, purpose-driven company? Was there a pivotal moment? Is there a key element that you can share with the people here?
Yeah, thank you, and excited to be joining you, and excited to be able to share our story, and excited to learn and hear about the others as well. For us, the journey was really from day one, reimagining agriculture and thinking about where we could put farms, how we enable this local production. So we've been one of the pioneers and leaders for indoor vertical farming. The idea that we can grow indoors all year round is really fundamentally changing this equation about where we think about our food, but a sustainable approach, a more environmental approach. This is a way of growing that has up to 390 times more productivity per square foot than the field on an annual basis. This is a way of growing that uses up to 95% less water, and fresh water is our most precious resource. And how do we think differently about that usage? It's a way of growing that uses zero pesticides. And so when we started the company, it was thinking about all these key stakeholders, and that's been really key and critical for the success for the organization. We talk about the environment, we talk about the community. We were just hearing before about, thinking about the whole value chain. We think about our selling partners. We think about ultimately the consumer. This is a product that they're looking for, sustainably grown, indoors, the idea of no pesticides ever, locally grown. And so for us, the pivotal moments, though, was the B Corp certification, because it was a way for us to codify and formalize this act of measurement, right? We have a transparent scorecard on how we're doing. And it's not only for the environmental factors, but it's also for the societal factors. And this was really key for us when we think about the world of farming. Organic, this does not go far enough, does not factor in these externalities. So for us, it's much, these farms are by the community, for the community. We're creating year-round employment, fair wages, benefits. We're addressing food deserts. And it's allowing us to think holistically about how we can touch the community and have that impact. And so for us, it's exciting to be able to think about this mission integrated into our DNA as an organization.
So you're really living, they all talk about moving from shareholder to stakeholder capitalism. You're really driving that forward, keeping very clear what the elements are. Now you can provide benefit to each one of them. Amazing. Bear in mind, all these 4 individuals founded the organization. These are founders, these are their babies. They started as babies and now they're really where they are now. So to me, it's like a dream. How do you do it? How do you make it? Brendan, I just recently saw, he gives money basically. He's a good man. He just allows people to get to the money and do it wisely. I was reading recently, you were writing about the culture at Fifth Wall. Is the culture a key element that you said, what is really important for us to pivot and to be a driven, meaningful company? Is it culture? What is it?
Yeah, I think it's a number of things. Culture is absolutely a part of it. And I think culture, our culture has always been one of kind of being very kind of science-based and fact-driven. And I think in some ways that would be my answer to your question of like, what was that moment where we kind of shifted the organization. And since I just spoke about 30 minutes ago, I won't give you the whole history of Fifth Wall, but when we started Fifth Wall, the vision was very straightforward. It was 13% of the US economy is real estate, it's people paying their rent. The industry has never adopted technology. It's about to, it's starting to. As it does, lots of value and tech is going to be created in this space. Very, very simple, very kind of almost macroeconomic top-down. It was actually in the process of being in that position and now having 70 strategic LPs, and we had 2.6 billion under management, that I started to talk to more of these corporates, and they were like, we need help around decarbonization and sustainability. And I was like, okay, let me understand this problem a bit more. And the stats are actually even more shocking. So real estate is 13% of US GDP. It's 40% of US CO2 emissions, 40% of electricity consumption, 40% of raw materials consumption, the real estate and the construction sector combined. And so I was kind of shocked by this reality. I was like, well, where's the Tesla, in the real estate industry? Where's the company that's massively investing in CapEx and kind of new ways of doing things? And it actually didn't exist. And, the real estate industry has probably in large part been plagued by this collective action problem. I saw Fifth Wall in its unique position of having convened the real estate industry in a platform to invest in tech. And I said, well, what if I just simply took that and applied that to now investing into climate tech, right? Investing into decarbonizing this industry. And so it was in some ways realizing that I had built the rails to do something really special if I just looked at the numbers slightly differently. And that was an amazing moment for me. That was about 1.5 years ago. And that's actually how we started our climate tech fund.
Fantastic. So I think that's really a key element, to be observing the trends out there. You build the rails. Those rails could lead a different way, really much more impactful. But it's that dialogue, this understanding. Oh, I'm aware there's a real issue there. 40%, you say, of emissions? Wow, big numbers. So that's a great pivot. Special relationship here with Carlotta.
Yes, we
because
do.
my house is powered by your energy.
Yes, thank you so much.
It's Hola Luz, and you founded this, and there are IPOs. Anybody wants to become an IPO or go IPO? You do, secretly you do, I know you do. So Carlota, is that the pivotal moment, is deciding let's make it an IPO? What was a moment in your career, not very long at Hola Luz, that said, this is where we're going to tap to, this is what gives us clarity, this is what gives us mission?
It was not our IPO moment, even though IPOing was a crucial moment in our lives. But raising money at the end of the day for a company like ours is just a tool. It's not a goal in itself. A critical moment that transformed our company forever is when we decided to launch the rooftop revolution. So we started the company 10 years ago with the aim of connect people to green energy, with the purpose of being a 100% green planet. And we did that buying directly from producers, from independent and green producers, renting the wire and supplying to almost 400,000 customers in Spain. But then, all of a sudden, so we made a regulation change. So we made disappear the sun tax, something that was called the sun tax in Spain. So in Spain, just to give you a sense, so there are less solar panels for residential use than in the city of Brussels. Brussels is a very small and rainy city. So all of a sudden, so it was in the middle of pandemic. So it was, let's say, mid-March 2020. All of a sudden, we realized that we had the clients, we had the brand, and we had the technology to start doing something else, which is like same thing, connect people to green energy, but more ambitious and more transformational, which is transforming buildings, transforming square meters of rooftops into production of green electricity. And not only green, but also decentralized electricity, electricity that's been produced right exactly on the spot where this electricity is going to be used, not only by the family that is living underneath that roof, but also by their neighbors. And this transformation is so huge. It will reshape the way that we are consuming and producing electricity, not only in Spain, but in every country on the earth. No? As an example, in Vietnam. So Vietnam, it's not, let's say, the #1 tech country in the world. So they decided to go solar a few months ago, and they installed the equivalent to seven nuclear power plants only in 6 months by transforming rooftops into green energy production. That was like our biggest aha moment ever. So all of a sudden, the last 10 years of wild execution and tough operations at Hola Luz, all of a sudden, everything, let's say, was put together. Everything was, let's say, clicked, no? And we realized that that was exactly what we came for doing this transformation.
And was it La Guerra de los Tejados? No,
La Revolución.
La Revolución de los Tejados. These
the
are
rooftop
revolutionaries.
revolution, you can join it anytime.
Revolutionaries. Sasha, if you had to give some advice to these great entrepreneurs about, Glovo, major success from nothing to boom, skyrocketing, is there something you can say, you guys, this you should think about, this works, especially when driving mission and impact? Is there one thing that you would say, think about this as you progress?
The first thing I say is listen to these guys. They know a lot more about it than me. Secondly, I think there's two things. I think any modern company, probably any company, but let's focus on, there's basics, right, that are just the good practices. And I think sometimes they're bundled into impact. Being sustainable, carbon neutral. We've committed to be carbon neutral at the end of this year. Paying our couriers decent earnings per hour. Diversity and inclusivity. There's a lot of these, right? Sometimes they're mixed into this impact concept, and this, to me, these are the must-haves, and they should be in all companies' KPIs, and they are. What for us is going to be more difficult, and we're beginning that process, is to be an impact-driven company, to have an impact culture within the organization. We're out there pretty much in every market where we operate. We're in 23, 24 countries now. Most of our competitors, if not all, are much bigger than us, with much more capital, with much more access to finance. It's a bit like David against Goliath, and we're going in the team and we're saying, no, actually, we have to be an impact-driven organization. Next thing, that conflicts directly with pretty much a lot of our KPIs, which are, we're trying to have good unit economics, we're trying to be profitable, and we're doing. So that's the moment, and we're right at the beginning of that, and we're learning. But I mean, we've embraced it, Oscar and myself, and now the management team, and we're going there. And I think that's why the B Corp process is going to be very good for us. And it's not about the certification. It's about putting those processes in and helping us. And anyone who's been a B Corp gives us that advice, that it's not actually, it's not going about it. It's actually the process that you can put in and become an impact-driven. And we're definitely committed to that. And it's not going to be easy. And we're going to have a lot of growing pains to get there. But I think
that's the road. That's the way forward. So that's great learning for everybody there. Thank you very much, Sasha. So Mark, how long ago did you have this crazy idea and you set up the company?
Yeah, thank you. AeroFarms, we've been at this since 2004 with a couple different chapters. And so we kind of think of ourselves as the longest overnight success. The work we've been doing has really been foundational. And I think what's critical in that is think big, but act bigger. And I think what's really important around that, we talked a little bit about our mission, and it originally had been around how do we enable local production to be able to nourish the community with healthy, tasty, safe, food. But we realized that we had this capabilities, this expertise around growing plants that we could be able to extend into other categories, help address a broader agricultural supply chain, challenges. And we've actually been able to even grow a plant protein now to be able to host a vaccine. So understanding, where we can have an impact is part of what we think is a vision. And so one of the things that when we talk about think big and act bigger is really we evolved our mission. And so our mission now is how do we grow the best plants possible for the betterment of humanity. It's bold, it's audacious, but it's this idea that we can have an impact in many different sectors. And that's what's been, I think, inspiring for us internally. It's helping us be a catalyst within the broader industry and help be a problem solver here.
And how do you communicate with the rest of the team, with the rest of the group? So you have this bright idea, this is our mission. How do you keep everybody aligned to go forward with that? Do they just nod at you, say, yes, if you say so, Mark, yes? Or do you see there's a real engagement there? And how do you make the switch?
Yeah, so what we thought is that this is not top down. This is building, and it's very much, again, how do we bring everybody along? But that's what's exciting about when we think about the hiring. We have an incredible alignment around that mission and around the purpose that we have. We recently hired a general manager in the UAE. There were over 10,000 applicants for one role. And so we're very fortunate that people think about, again, how do we think about driving innovation, but how do we think about driving career opportunities? But people are now thinking about impact, what kind of impact they can have. And so we're aligned around that. And so people realize that every single role within the organization, here in the U.S. under COVID, we are wearing the essential worker mantle, the idea that we've maintained operations every single day. So people realize it's the ability, the level of accountability, and the kind of impact that they can have in every single role.
Fantastic. And mentioned there was as money is a big driver. I personally believe there's a beautiful business model which has impact and creates benefits. It's not an either or. How do you convince the rest of the investment community that that is the way forward? Because it's easy to say, yeah, but then when people need to sign the checks, how does the impact level really say this is a reason why you should invest in this company beyond being a B Corp, of course?
Well, the macro pressures are big. Is it for someone else? I apologize.
The money man, Brendan. But if you had a short idea, please do shoot.
Go ahead.
No, happy to talk more, but please, Brendan, go ahead.
I think one of the really important challenges that's incumbent on anyone who's raising money for climate tech right now is you got to be a good storyteller. You got to build a really compelling narrative. And here's why. Like, a lot of our money that we're raising, we're probably going to raise $1.5 billion to put into climate tech. It's certainly the largest pool of capital ever, deployed into climate tech for the real estate industry by the real estate industry, which means that every real estate company that invests in our climate tech fund, it's a super unnatural, awkward act for them. So there's all this upfront friction to overcoming that, meaning the easiest thing to do is to just not invest in it, which is what you did last year and the year before and the year before. So a lot of where I actually spend my time and where I encourage my team to spend their time is in being really good storytellers, in telling a narrative that, evokes something in the counterparty, in the groups we're raising money from, where they want to help, they want to be a part of something, and they believe that in mobilizing capital and committing capital, they can be. And that's really hard, right? I mean, that's the art of fundraising, that's the art of storytelling, that's the art of, persuasion. And I think it's something that obviously Fifth Wall as a firm has been, very practiced at and good at. And I think it's exciting to have the opportunity to do that for climate tech. And I think we're having a lot of success doing it so far.
And it's quite interesting as well, because I'm not sure if you guys travel to the US, storytelling and the narrative is really powerful. You go to Europe, say, okay, ¿dónde está la chicha? Give me some real facts. The story doing becomes more important, but I think that both are really fundamental elements, and that's why I just mentioned B Corp as an example, where you're measuring what's important, and then telling the amazing story of the impact that you're having, not either or, but both going together, and you've obviously been very successful at it. Carlotta.
And related to that, let me add.
Please.
So when we were IPOing the company, so we did the roadshow all across Europe. At the beginning, our bankers, so they were kind of preventing me of explaining our story, our foundational story. So what do we are in the business for? Because we are actually a B Corp, #1 ESG company in the world for electricity companies. That's true story. And it's not because we just became, it's just because we just were, no? And then we just got certified B Corp, and then we got the certification in ESG. And then, but the bankers, they were not comfortable by letting us explaining to potential investors who we were. But you know what? So after the third early look meeting in London and in the Nordics, so they totally realized how powerful the story is, and how powerful it is to have genuinely a transcendent purpose, how powerful it is to have actually a company whose purpose is to transform the world for the better. And there is thousands of billions out there for helping this company actually being a tool for transforming the world. And at the end of the day, so we raised more than twice the money that we needed for our IPO. 70% of the money came from investors in the city of London. So hard money believed in us, very hard money believed in us. And why? Because it's not about choosing between impact and profitability, but you make more profits out of being impactful.
And I still have a minute with you, so I want to still, why do people that work at Hola Luz exit the company, not exit, leave the company, go home and say, hey, I work at Hola Luz? What makes it so special for people to work where you are? What's a recipe that makes them excited to go to work?
So
what have you done?
First thing, and that's one of the most powerful things about having actually a transcendent purpose. So people do want to feel connected on a value basis with what they do on an everyday basis, no? And this is a very powerful thing. So we have the belief, so we are totally positive and certain that what we are doing every day is helping the world for the better. That's first thing. And second thing, of course, as you were mentioning, and I know Globo is as well, and Brendan mentioned it as well, is about culture, is about working hard, is about having fun, is about saying things as they are, is about working for making things possible.
You say having fun?
Having fun.
Having fun at work?
Yeah, we have a lot of fun. So we work like hell, I have to tell. So I'm running late at every meeting I have, but we work like hell. But we have a lot of fun because we do have the belief, and we feel it every day, that we are creating something unique. Even though we spend very long days, so I'm sure I'm talking for the four of us, but even though, sometimes it's tiring, sometimes it's a bit, let's say, frustrating. So we are on the right path, and we are creating a tool, which is a company to transform the world for the better. And that there's nothing better than that at work.
And now I'm going to ask you the most difficult thing, is just a headline. So if you want to say, if you want to have a mission-driven company, if you really want to make a difference in your company, you should always, what's the headline that you can give me in 30 seconds? This is really tough. What should you always do? Sasha is ready. I can see Sasha is ready.
I was looking to my left.
Mark,
Mark,
you're on the
probably
left.
don't- you probably don't know
They
you're to
think
my
that
left.
you are the first headline creator. You should always.
Yeah, sure. It's about staying true to your North Star, staying true to that mission. And when we talk about alignment, with your investors, for example, I mean, as a company, we turned down 8 figures because it wasn't the right alignment. So it's about how do you stay true, and having, the fortitude to be true to that is really critical.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. Sasha,
I think Carlo mentioned something super important for us, and it has been from day one, and we've been able to maintain it, which is culture. And the more you grow, the more difficult it is to maintain that. I think that's one. But I just wanted to say one thing. Sometimes through Glovo or directly, I see a lot of startups who are starting in the impact space from the environment. And a lot of the projects really are not mixing a decent business aligned with that. They're almost going against the grain, building great ideas, something that might be ready in 10 years' time, but they're going to have so many difficulties to make that profitable in the short term that it's not really viable. So I think we should really focus on building really economical, sustainable businesses. Impact is great business if you get it right. There's so many companies not doing that, and there's so many companies who want to work with other companies that are doing that. So I think that should be a key focus.
Brendan, what's your headline?
Well, it's hard to add to those last two, but additively, I would say prioritize. I think any entrepreneur who wants to have impact, especially in the spaces that all of us are in, when you look at your business and you look at those opportunities, there's almost too much to address. And I think it's always important to kind of prioritize where you can maximally have impact, given there's only so much time in the day, only so much money to be spent, only so many resources to be deployed. So prioritize.
And Carlotta, last but definitely not least.
I'll say create a vision that allows your potential customers to become heroes from their couch.
Making customer heroes. Thank you very much. I think these 4 founders deserve a big round of applause, and thank you very much.